Okay. Hello. I'm going to talk to you about graffiti and perspective. So we had started perspective before we started the clay unit, right? So you guys had that little packet and we were talking about graffiti and how that was going to end up and how we were going to revisit it after clay. So now you guys are home. You don't have the materials that I was hoping that we would be using, possibly. I'm pretty sure you don't have illustration board at home. But there's a variety of materials you can use to still make this look really cool. So have no fear, okay? So let's talk about the project. These were things we went over in class already. We had talked about, we had answered and discussed the question, is graffiti art or vandalism, and why or why not? So through this project, again, just to reiterate, the objectives would be to understand the role of graffiti in art and culture and to create our own piece using elements of art and principles of design. And then using what we know about linear perspective to create the illusion of depth and space. So these were things we already went over. And of course you can revisit this stuff if you want. This was a cool video about 5 points if you want to take a look at that. So the actual project, what are we going to actually start working on now, is creating a masterpiece using a word of your choice. You can use your name, a nickname, a positive word, something that means something special to you, a nickname or a name of someone else if you want to make it for them. Really, whatever you want to do. It should just be at least 4 letters long, so you can kind of play with design and composition. So if you have colored pencils, great. If not, no big deal. You can use a variety of markers, pencils, paint. If you have watercolors at home, any kind of markers would be fine, whatever you have available. As far as the surface, you can use just regular paper. You can use scraps of cardboard. Could be kind of cool. It would add like an extra layer of texture and value to your piece as well. An old brown paper bag from ShopRite. You kind of cut it open, cut the bottom off, and open it up. It makes a really good canvas. If you have canvas at home too, like if you did one of those paint and sip parties and it didn't come out the way you wanted it to or whatever, you could always cover it up with this. So the big concepts that we're talking about is perspective, as well as shading and blending and color harmonies. So we had those packets, these packets, when we were in school, where we learned about perspective. And these I said, oh, you guys can wait on those, right? So now is the time to revisit those sheets. So I want you guys to design your own alphabet. There's so many resources on the internet to give you guys inspiration on drawing your own graffiti letters. So you can use the worksheet to design your own alphabet, and then I think on this worksheet it says using the alphabet that you designed, illustrate either the word waffles or grapes, but here I would just use whatever word you chose. So let's say you picked your first name, do that on that page, okay? And that's what I want by the end of this week is a sketch of your word based on the alphabet you designed. The word does not have to be totally completed. It could still be a little rough. That's fine. What I'm going to do is give you guys weekly benchmark due dates so that you're turning in something each week, making sure we're on the right track. So here I have a link to a YouTube demo on designing this page, as well as a quick link, which this is also an Edpuzzle that you guys will be watching today as well. But it's a sort of a time lapse of creating the graffiti piece. So this is basically the project, okay? Where do we find inspiration? So last week I shared some work by these artists on Instagram, asked you guys to pick your favorite piece and share it with the class. Why was it something that you were interested in? And this artist really kind of exemplifies sort of my goals for the project, right? So like here in this example, is not working on a wall or something like that. It's on a canvas, right? So how do the letters fit into space? How do the colors relate to one another? How do they contrast against the background? How is shading used to create the illusion of depth in those letters? So these are all the kinds of questions that we need to be addressing in our final works. So I do encourage you guys to look at these artists. And then as far as designing your own letters, there's a ton of resources online, but some of these websites will actually let you play around. This one is actually just letters, just alphabets. So you can scroll through that, take a look at that. Oh, here's the... This has a huge collection of different types of graffiti letters. You know, you can get super intricate and crazy. You can keep it simple and curvy. It's totally up to you how you do this. So you guys can click around here, get some ideas, get some inspiration. Graffiti Creator will actually let you play around with some different effects too. So you can click on one of course, I have Flash Player. But so, oops, I spelled that wrong. So anyway, you can play with colors, with the different types of fonts. There's different alphabets, you know, so you can kind of play around and get some ideas from here as well. All right. And then another cool site is my favorite site because I love downloading different fonts for everything. It's a free site, and if you go under script and you can click on graffiti, and that'll take you here where you can see a bunch of different fonts that were designed by different artists. But you know, you could look at this and look, oh, how do they modify the E and the F, and you know, what are they adding to these letters to make them really cool? So you can get some inspiration from there as well. Okay, so we've talked about linear perspective. I gave you guys a little review last week, so there's some more resources in here for you as well. What is one-point perspective, the basics of that. So just to reiterate, of course, we have a horizon line, we have that vanishing point there, and we draw a shape, and all of the corners go to the vanishing point. And when we end a shape, we end it with a line that is exactly parallel as the original shape, right? So let's say it was these lines for the B. We're going back to that vanishing point. How would I end the shape? With the same exact curve as that B, okay? So in preparation for this project, you had the perspective packet that was done a bazillion years ago, right? You had boxes in there, you had different shapes, different letters. Now you're working on creating your own alphabet, and then you're going to use that alphabet to sketch your name. That's due Friday, the 1st, May 1st. Then you're going to add the lines of perspective. You're going to turn that in May 8th. Then you're going to refine it, correct any mistakes, add color and background stuff. Well, actually, no, you're going to add color and value, and that is due May 15th. And then you'll add background, and that will be due May 22nd. So the final finished, awesome, amazing piece is due on the 22nd. And what do we do with it? We take a photograph, we submit to Artsonia. Okay, so I did include links to the different videos on how to draw in perspective. And then there's a whole bunch of links to different graffiti artists. I don't know if all the links still work. This is from a while ago. I compiled this list, so you know, check it out. Actually, Banksy has been doing some fun stuff while he's been working from home, so you should look up his work, his current, most recent project. It's kind of funny. There's also this guy on YouTube that does some really cool stuff with alphabets, so you can take a look at that as well. We just talked about the font. So again, this is kind of like the goal. Whether or not this is possible, is sort of depending on what you have available to you at home. But you can push this as far as you want. You can mix media, you can do really whatever you want. The only requirement is that it's graffiti, it's at least a 4-letter word, and it shows me that you understand 1-point perspective. You have a vanishing point and those orthogonal lines that go to your vanishing point. Okay, so that is your graffiti project in a nutshell. Really quick, I want to just show you in Schoology a couple things that I just posted. So there's a humongous folder here, Graffiti in Perspective, due May 22nd. So if you click on that folder, you're going to see I broke it down into different due dates. So we have an Ed puzzle due on the 30th. Then we have our initial sketch of our word in a graffiti font due the 1st of May. The next week, you're adding in the perspective lines, that's due the 8th. Then you're adding color value and texture, that's due the 15th. Adding your background, that's due the 22nd. There is a rubric here. There's also rubrics embedded in each of the projects, so you can make sure that you are doing your absolute best work. And then I also added back in the gigantic folder from before when we were still in school, so with perspective and graffiti. So there's the colored pencil stuff. This was the original assignment I posted, but you can kind of ignore that because I kind of changed things. But all different links to the different things that we've got. A lot of these are redundant. They're in the PowerPoint already. There's perspective resources, stuff to help you out with that. Graffiti resources, color stuff. So all of this is here too if you are like, wait, hold on. Go back. If you do want to work on the alphabet worksheet on my sheet, you just do it on a piece of scrap paper, it's fine, or sketchbook paper. But if you do want to, the packet is here under graffiti worksheets. Okay, so you can print this out and work on this at home. If you want to practice again your perspective, you can also do that if you want. Okay, also in Schoology, I posted a red folder called 4th Marking Period Checklist. Please review. And in there is your 4th marking period checklist. So just like I did for 3rd marking period, I started it much earlier. I know a lot of you are having a tough time keeping up with assignments, and then new things get posted and then other things get pushed down and it's hard to find things. So some of you are doing great, you're turning in everything on time, and some of us just things happen and you can't get to it. I get it, so whatever, but it's here. Okay, in this document all the links are embedded to every single assignment. Your earth art project is due the end of this week as well, due May 1st. So hopefully you're on track for that. But if you need any help, all the resources are here. Literally everything is here. Okay. And then I also included a link to a calendar for April and May, which you could print out and leave it at your desk. And even write down your other assignments for your other classes. But this should give you a good idea of what to be working on each day, each week, what to do. So what I'm trying to do is introduce new assignments on Tuesday, have things due like on a Friday, like benchmark things due on a Friday. And hopefully that will help you guys out and make things go a little bit smoother. Okay, and then these were the old to-do lists. Oh, here's another link to that same calendar. Okay, so hopefully that helps. Hopefully that was a good explanation on your graffiti project. So I'm excited to see what you guys come up with. I would definitely spend some time researching graffiti artists and graffiti alphabets and come up with some cool solutions to the design problem. As you're designing your word, keep in mind you should be thinking about, let's look at this example. We have a lot of overlapping happening in this piece. Do you want your letters to overlap? Do you want them to be really close, touching, not touching, far apart? Those are questions you as an artist have to answer as you're designing your words. Do you want to exaggerate certain parts of the letters? Do you want to have certain parts be really thin or really thick? Do you want to use curvy lines, angular lines, a combination? And then when you start to add in color and texture, you can have a lot of fun where you can do gradients, you can add doodads and extra embellishments like splashes in the background or splatters or like sparkly looking things, So this can be a really cool project. So it's up to you to see how far you can take it, okay? So I hope you enjoyed this project. Please always reach out with questions, before the 11th hour. I'm available between 8 and 4, pretty much. Google Hangouts is the best way to get in touch with me as quickly as possible. So I almost always have my phone open and available. I get the alerts right away. You can send me pictures through there if you're having problems, whatever, okay? So anyway, I hope you guys are doing well. I do miss you. And I'm looking forward to seeing what you guys come up with for your earth art project as well as your graffiti projects. Talk to you soon.